Hello and welcome to another video tutorial Monday. This week I wanted to show you some ways to use Copic markers. I haven't blended with them in quite a while, so I wanted to give it a try today using kind of a non-traditional Copic coloring set, which would be this Modern Basics from Papertrey Ink. It's really cool because it allows you these big open areas that you can make gradients in, and that's perfect for Copic coloring, but usually when I think Copic coloring I think flowers. So I wanted to try this out today, and we're going to be working with reds. Reds tend to bleed very easily, so keeping that in mind, I'm going to stamp my modern squares onto this piece of cardstock and then cut them out. That way I won't have to worry about any bleeding or any edges, and I can just really focus on making them look blended and beautiful. So that's what I'm planning on doing today. And I'm first going to start out by stamping them just 2 or 3 times on this piece of paper. And I'll stamp each one of the outline squares. Now I'm just going to stamp this sentiment from the same stamp set. It says thanks on it, so I'm going to put it in this one, and I'm just going to get right over it and pretty much center it. And the cool part about this is you can stamp your sentiment twice and then use whichever one you like better, or whichever one fits better. So I'm going to leave it at that, and that's all my stamping. Really easy, and then this is really great if you're just starting out with Copics to do something that you know you're going to cut out. That way you can really just work on the basics and not worry about the edges. So I'm going to start out with my lightest color. This is R20, and I'm going to go over the entire square. I'm not worrying about the edges, and I like that. I'm much more apt to use my Copics if I don't have to worry about the edges. So I'm taking my next one, which is R22, coloring over it about 2/3 of the way up, and then going back with my R20 and blending in the edge of what I just colored. And notice I'm working pretty fast here. This is the R27, coloring just along the bottom, and then I'm going to blend with the medium one. And I work pretty fast because that's what helps keep the colors going. It helps what keeps them keeps them moving, so you can blend them really easily. Now I'm noticing that this color doesn't seem to like to blend very well, so I'm going to see, is this one lighter? Yes, it is. So I'm actually going to use 4 colors for this, and I'm just going to go in with this 3rd darkest color, I guess you could say, and then use that to help me blend in the darker red. And then that's the medium. So you start out, I have, just to show you here, R20, R22, R27, and R35. And I actually use R35 before I use R27. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of these. So once again, I'll go over this slowly one more time just so you can get a grasp on it. And you can do these with any 4 colors that are close together, like this range. So the R20 first, then the R22. This time I'm going to go about 2/3 up. But you don't have to go that far up. Go back in with the R20, blend out that edge, do the 3rd darkest color, the R35, go about 1/3 of the way up, go with the 2nd lightest color, so R22, and blend that in. And if you need to here, you can go back in with the R20. So you're just basically always working your darkest color, then back to your light, and then your next darkest color, and then back to light. So the R27 goes at the bottom here, and then I'm going to use the R35 to blend it in. And I want to bring that up a little bit, so I'm going to use the R22 to blend that in, and then use the R20 to blend that edge in. And you can go back and do this as many times as you want. You can go over the same exact image many times. You can see this is barely bled through to the other side, so we have a lot more working time before these, before the cardstock is completely saturated with color. But I like it as this way, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this to all the other squares, and and I will be back in a second. Okay, so I have my little pieces cut out, and I actually went around the edge with some Spice Tin ink and a blending tool just to make sure that none of the white of the paper showed through. And now I think I'm just going to adhere them to my card. And so I have them set up so kind of like this, and you'll see how I add them on and just while I'm doing it here, but the goal is just to keep them parallel with the card edges. So it works pretty easily when you just adhere them down. I'm not going to worry about dimensional adhesive for this. I think I'm just going to use regular adhesive. And I'm actually going to use the Scotch Adhesive Dot Roller this week just because I'm trying it out. And so what I'm going to do is start out with my sentiment, since that's probably the most important piece of it all. And then kind of just keep in mind I want those two to go above there, so I want to put this right about here. And just line it up to make sure that it's straight on this edge and straight on this edge, and then the other two will just kind of fall into place. And so now I can go about just adhering them down and keeping even spacing between each of the pieces. So now that I have my pieces adhered down, I can just cut off the excess. And this card is really coming along. I love it so far. So I'm going to round the corners. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch. Then I'll use my Signo Uniball white and go around the edges with some white stitching. And I'm just going to go right over the pieces, and this will just help kind of make them blend in. And then just for a finishing touch, I'm going to take this silk ribbon from May Arts and wrap it around the card right about here and tie a bow. And now I can adjust it to exactly where I want it to go. And just to keep the bow exactly where I want it, I've rolled up a little glue dot, and I'm going to stick it on the back of the bow and then stick it down right where I want it to stay. And you can't even tell that the glue dot's there, but it looks perfect. I love it. I love how it stays in shape then. And you don't even need to worry about it adhering the ribbon any other way, because that glue dot will hold it really well. So I think that is our card for this week. Once again, kind of clean and simple, but I'm really liking this look lately, and I think to have fun and experimenting with Copic markers is really the point of this card. So I think that really shines, and I just love that. So here's a picture of the finished card, and here's a close-up. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you again next week on another Video Tutorial Monday.